Can I have you come sit over here? Just be a model for me real quick. I want to make sure you're in frame. Camera's pointing right. You just kind of kneel down in front here. I want to make sure you're looking pretty sharp. Looking real good, Teacher Doug. Perfect. Yes, sir. Yeah, those ones. These ones don't have any in the contracts. All right.
Every black belt test, every year.
Those don't have contracts. These ones all have contracts. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So right now, Teacher Logan is passing around the Fusion Black Belt Expectations Handbook, as well as inside the first page of that handbook is the contract, and that's going to be like the contract, the commitment letter, all that kind of stuff. This is a commitment for not just, now if you've done this before, you know this. If you haven't done this before, this is a commitment not just for you, but also for your family. I mean, because they have to put in a lot of time, obviously driving you to and from, whether it's the martial arts school or to the formal events that we have planned throughout the year. But they're also going to be, not necessarily doing the work for you, but they're helping keeping you accountable, making sure you're staying on track. And they're not necessarily going to be holding your hand, but your family is going to be there to be a support member for you. And maybe they could offer advice like, hey, you're struggling in these areas. Have you talked to anybody? Did you talk to any other black belts? Did you talk to instructors? Whether it's pushing you in the right direction or maybe giving you a little kick in the rear if you need a little bit of a boost. But they're along the journey for you, or with you. And so that contract is not only going to explain kind of our expectations from you guys, but help your parents, like I said, if you've never done this before, know what to expect, okay? In the past, during our orientation, we've gone and read word for word everything that's in the book and everything that's in the contract. We're not really going to be doing that today. We are going to be going over a couple important pieces. We're going to be covering the calendar. After we go over the calendar, we're going to talk about some expectations. They're not really going to be that much different than last year if you were participated last year. Fairly similar. And then we will go over the frequently asked questions once we're finished with that. Doug, did you want to cover anything on the contract at all today? Maybe covering pricing or anything like that, sir?
No, mainly just the dates I want to
The dates.
So if you got those, that's great.
But then after that, we'll go to an opportunity to have people ask questions. We want to make sure this is kind of like a Q&A, so everybody feels like they were heard. Now, this isn't necessarily the only time to ask questions. In fact, we want this also to be a moment where we're really soaking up this information. We are not... Actually, it is. We are starting tomorrow. I'm going to be sending out an email offering times for people to set up meetings. And so we have meetings throughout the year with our black belt testers. Before the black belt test, we have what we call our pre-commitment meetings. During our pre-commitment meetings, we'll schedule a Zoom meeting. We'll meet up with you guys and your parents. If you're an adult, obviously, your parents don't have to come, but you can invite them if they want to, right? And we'll address any concerns, whether it's maybe a concern with the calendar or a concern with time commitment, whether it's concern with requirements. So, soak up a lot of information today. Take today, tonight, tomorrow to kind of talk this over with family, things like that, address any concerns or think of any concerns you have. And then during that pre-commitment meeting, we'll hash them out and talk to you and see if we can work around some of your issues or see if we need to make any adaptations or modifications to the test, okay? So first things first, we're going to go to our calendar, guys, and we're going to open it up to page 1. And so you'll see the number there on the bottom right. The testing calendar, starting from now, it goes from January all the way until September. All right, that's what the calendar goes from. The testing, or the dates that are here in January, these are all pre-commitment dates. These are literally preliminary black belt testing that just happened on Saturday. Zach got his belt on Saturday. Let's give Zach some energy. Awesome belt. The days that are in gray, those are going to be the days that we're going to be scheduling and actually doing the pre-commitment meetings. And then the 21st, that's going to be a Saturday on January, that's when we want to see your commitment. That's whenever we're asking you guys to let us know if you're going to sign up for the black belt test or not this year. Okay? So that stuff's going to be important, but the real important stuff is to start planning for the stuff that's ahead. And that's why we set the calendar out like a couple months ago to hopefully give you guys an opportunity to plan for the year if this is what you wanted to do. But looking at the calendar, now there's a lot of dates that are in yellow. All right, yellow classes are normal black belt class, or well, not necessarily normal, but a black belt class. And black belt classes that you are expected to attend, okay? Now, does that mean you can't miss a single day? No. All right, there are about 70 or so black belt classes, and you can miss 14 of them. Does that make sense? However, when I say you can miss 14, that doesn't mean just don't show up 14 times. It's saying you have 14 opportunities to have an excused absence. Meaning you reach out to us saying, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it to class today. This is why. I'm going to try to make it up by coming to one of the underbelt classes, or I'm going to come to kickboxing class, or something like that to be able to make up that training time. Does that make sense? So an excused absence isn't just don't show up whenever you want. Excused absence is you reach out, let the instructor know what's going on, let the instructor know how you're going to make it up, and then that's how that absence becomes excused. Does that make sense? You're sick, you're injured, right? There's an accident on the way, you couldn't make it, family emergency, whatever. Obviously, just communicate. Make sure you figure out how you're going to make it up, and then we can move on from that. Does that make sense? So that's going to be all the dates that are in yellow. Ideally, let's not try to miss them, but that's the case. Make sense? The dates that are in green, all right? Green dates are special trainings. Now, the green dates, those dates, except for unforeseeable circumstances, extenuating circumstances, like those, we got to make sure we're showing up to them. We don't get to have excused absences from special trainings. You're expected to be there, right? If you're not there, again, it better be communicated, and there better been a darn good reason why you're not there. Does that make sense? These are really important. They're big team building events that we do during these special trainings, but we also sometimes during these events do stuff where we're helping the community, or stuff where we're learning a little bit more about the organization that we're a part of. Again, these events are really, really important to help make this a well-rounded test, more than just the physicality, but the mentality and the emotional aspect of it as well. Does it make sense? So those green dates, show up to those. You can't make it, all right? Like I said, you need to make sure that it's a good reason. You can't just make it because you didn't feel like coming to it. Or another thing we talk about, we expect we expect people who are committing to the black belt test to make this their focus. What I mean by that is, you're not doing summer ball all year, where you're going to be summer balls. All your games are going to be eating into your Saturday trainings, where you're going to have to miss all your trainings because of the games. Makes sense? So we expect this to be your focus. So green days are special trainings. Blue days are another important day, and those are performance testing. Now, performance testing is like your physical conditioning testing. So during that, we're going to be going over several things. We're going to be testing your 1.5 mile run time. All right? We're going to be testing your going over, of course, what's called an Anderson test, which is another endurance test. We're going to cover a squats test, a push-up test, a plank test. We're going to do your 40-yard dash time. We're going to test your vertical jump. And then we're going to test how quickly you can go through an agility course that we create. All right, so throughout the year, you'll be doing these tests 4 times, and then you'll get to track your progress and see your progression and how you're developing physically. Make sense? So those are very important. Those are very important because they're going to give you that data to help track your progress, which is going to be really, really important to see, so you can kind of see where you're growing. Does that make sense? The red days on the calendar are going to be even more important. These are checkpoints. The red days on the calendar are what we call like midterm tests in a sense, where we will look at everybody's physicality, whether not just their effort throughout the year, but their memorization of curriculum, their technique, and also their attendance. And we're going to look at where everyone's at during those checkpoints, and of course assess if we need to make any cuts or any changes or adaptations to people's tests, because we have 3 cutting points throughout the year. All right, that's going to be April 8th, June 10th, and August 19th. Again, we don't really expect people to be cut, but it's happened, and it could happen again. Does that make sense? So, again, remember, yellow days. Those are black belt classes. Black belt classes during black belt training are extended to where you will have some Fridays and Saturdays a month. At least one Friday and one Saturday a month that you'll have a black belt class usually, okay? Again, you have 14 days excused absences from those, but it is communicate to your instructor, let them know why you couldn't come, and how you're going to make it up. Make sense? Green days are going to be your special trainings. Those, you need to show up. All right? In the case of unforeseen or extenuating circumstances, all right, that are beyond your control, that keeps you from coming, well, of course, yeah, we're not going to hold it against you, but you need to communicate it immediately. Make sense? Same thing with blue and red days, because those are all both very important days. If you have any questions, guys, on timings, everything is located right at the bottom. Monday and Wednesday black belt class, 8 to 9. Friday class, 6:30 to 8. Saturday mornings, regular black belt class, 7:30 to 9. And then Saturday performance testings will be from 7 to 9 a.m. The special trainings, the green days, those are TBD, dependent on when the event actually is going to happen. For instance, like the beach training a lot of times is going to be in the early afternoon. Some of the other trainings, like the hike that we're going to be doing, is going to be more in the early morning. So depending on the activity we're doing, we'll let you know several weeks in advance to be able to plan ahead for that. Okay? So that's the calendar. Please, what I recommend to everybody do is go over, look at the calendar, make notes of any potential conflicts you might see in the calendar. Look at if you have any vacations coming up that might conflict with it. All right, and if you do have vacations come up and you want to make sure that you are able to still do that vacation, just make sure that they don't conflict with, like I said, special trainings or make you miss more than those 14 days. Make sense?
Sure.
We tried to do our best to not occupy too many weekends throughout the year, so usually there's only 2 weekends a month that we have you guys doing something. You know, we still need to get that extra training, so that's why we have it on those Saturdays and those Fridays. Yes.
So the Friday night trainings, I know they are in yellow, but we're going to really focus on those as special trainings, right? So there's not a lot of makeup classes this year. We'll do some randomly that I'll throw in there. But I know there's a lot of confusion on the Friday night classes last year. So, you know, if you're not showing up to those, I'm expecting phone calls and direct communication, okay? Not half the team not showing up. So please take your calendar seriously this year.
All right, guys, so we're going to move to the requirements. So requirements, just like the last couple years, we are tracking all of our requirements on Google Drive. And so once or during our pre-commitment meetings, I am going to get your your email, your parents' email, some other information as well. But I'm going to be getting the information that I can send to this Google Drive document to. You're going to have an actual document and a Google Sheets file. And in the Google Drive document, it's like a Word doc. You'll be able to go and do your written requirements. So you'll get to do your journaling. You'll get to write your you'll get to do your success interviews that you know when you end up interviewing. You'll have all that stuff recorded there. All right, you can copy and paste it if you record it somewhere else, or you can write it directly into the Google Drive. The great thing about Google Drive is your instructors can see it as it's happening, and so they can see you literally updating it as you're doing it. Everything's gonna be up to date. No one's gonna be waiting on anything. Right? I'm not gonna be like, all right, where's, you know, how come Kaysen didn't turn in? And sorry, Kaysen, I'm not trying to throw you to the how come Kaysen didn't turn in, you know, her journal for February? Right? We don't have to worry about that because if you just enter it in Google Drive, it's already going to be there. It's already turned in. Does that make sense? Sure. For your physical requirements, because you will have to do we call a tri-weekly workout regimen. So you're just doing some extra calisthenics at home, more push-ups, sit-ups, squats, making sure you're tracking them, right? Your physical requirements that you'll track will be on that Google Sheets document. And that Google Sheets document we'll have all sorts of cool things like percentages. So you'll get to see, how you're increasing by week to week, how you've increased from start to finish, all that kind of stuff. And again, it's a good way to just track that progression. Your instructors during the Blackwell test are looking for constant progression. All right, if you're plateaued the entire time, and because there's a little graph that will show you if you're plateauing the entire time throughout your test, you're not training hard enough. And so it's a good visual to find out if you're giving enough effort. Make sense?
Sure.
Sometimes that's a little finicky with the Google Drive, guys. So please communicate with me. If you don't hear from me, communicate with Teacher Sam, Teacher Marie, Teacher Logan, with your instructors, and let them know so that we can get that situated. We want to make sure everybody's able to track without any issues. Okay?
Sir.
So when it comes to the actual requirements, we have 3 main sets of requirements. We have youth ranking requirements, and this doesn't mean everyone who's a youth follows these. Okay? There is only a specific set of people that will follow the youth ranking requirements. And so if you're a youth, I can tell you pretty much you don't go under this. Almost 100%. Unless, Nolan, can you stand up for me? Unless you have a black belt, and then turn around and show everybody your black belt, that has, can you show them all the letters? The letters that are all gray. Does that make sense?
Sure.
If you already have a black belt, and your letters are all gray, you follow the youth ranking requirements. Does that make sense?
Sure.
If you have a poom belt, gentlemen, right here, even though you guys technically be a youth, right? If you have a poom belt, or half red, half black, preliminary black belt, right? You still follow the first degree requirements. Make sense? If you are a first degree black belt, okay, Kaysen, can you stand up for me?
Sure.
If you are a first degree black belt, but all the letters aren't gray, right? Some of them are blue or white, gold, right? Then you will follow the first degree requirements. Does that make sense? So, if you are a first degree black belt with gray lettering, or second degree black belt with gray lettering, you follow the youth ranking requirements. Does that make sense?
Sure.
If you are a first degree black belt with blue or gold writing, or if you are a preliminary black belt or a Chodanbo, which we don't have any today from Tang Soo Do, then you would follow the first degree requirements. If you are a second or third degree black belt with not gray, but blue or gold writing, you will follow the third degree. And so the second and third. And so really what it comes down to is we have a youth ranking black belt and a non-youth ranking black belt, what we call our adult rank black belt. And we have this program to kind of slow down our youth through the ranks a little bit, because getting your rank, especially a master's rank in the martial arts, and we call it like our 4th and 5th degree black belt, is something that requires more than just getting good at kicking and punching. It requires a lot of life experience, maturity, responsibility, leadership. A lot more goes into it than just kicking and punching. And we expect people who are 4th and 5th degree black belts to be into their 20s, 30s. Somebody who is going to be quite older. Make sense?
Sure.
So the youth ranking system works just to slow down our youth a little bit, to give them time to gain that maturity. Okay, so if you are 15 years or younger, then you pretty much follow the youth system. And so as an example, Russell, how old are you? So Russell's 13, right? Russell's, he's got his preliminary black belt. He'd be testing for his youth first degree this year. So it'd be a gray first degree black belt. Next year, following year, he's eligible to test for his full rank black belt, but he'll follow under the youth ranking requirement because he's wearing the youth rank. Make sense? All right, now, once Russell receives his full rank, then he's going to follow our testing protocol for full ranked adult black belts, where it works like you have a first degree full rank, you have to wait 2 years or train for 2 years before you're eligible to test for your second degree. Make sense? Now, by the time Russell would test for his second degree black belt, he'd already be 15, and so he would test for his full rank. And so the idea is it just slows down the students who are under 15, 11, 12, 13 years old, give them more time to gain that maturity, so then by the time they do reach 4th and 5th degree, they will be in their 20s and 30s. All right? Okay, so does that make sense, or is that still a little confusing? Okay. Yes, sir. Those are yes to both answers. Again, last one through. If you are already a black belt, whether it's first, second, or third degree, and it's all gray stripes in writing, you follow the youth. If you are not a black belt, or you are a first degree with blue or gold writing, you follow the first degree. All right? If you are a second or third degree with blue or gold writing, you follow the second and third degree. Okay? So moving on from that, let's talk about the requirements. First degree, we expect you guys, actually first, second, and third, and youth, we expect you guys all to show up to 58 black belt classes. So that's from from February 1st to September 1st. Does that make sense? So 58. So that means there's 72 total classes throughout the year. You can come to 58 of them. You can miss that 14. Again, we talked about what excused absence means. All three of the individuals, whether it's first, youth, or second and third, have to have 25 weeks of numbers tracking. There aren't 25 weeks throughout the year. There's a little bit less, so it gives you a little bit of leeway, whether it's you kind of just getting getting the ball rolling at the beginning of the year, or maybe you missed a week or two because you're sick. We're giving you the opportunity so you don't have to necessarily sit there and train through injuries or train through illness and stuff like that, or give you a break if you needed it, right? So 25 weeks of numbers tracking, and that's going to be on your Google Sheets document we talked about. We also expect everybody, whether it's for youth all the way to second or third, to attend all the special trainings of events. And we want to make sure that, like I said, it's not just the special trainings events, it's those performance trainings as well, okay? Now we're going to start to kind of change here a little bit. The first degrees, second and third degrees. We also expect you guys to do your diet tracking. Now we're not asking you guys when we're doing the diet tracking to sit there and go on a diet necessarily. What we are asking you to do is be mindful of what you eat, and then record what you eat, and then be mindful of how that makes you feel during your training, whether it's mental performance, physical performance, right? Just general, how do you feel in general? Like, are you feeling more sick, or are you feeling, more energetic, whatever it is. We're asking you to gauge how you eat this certain way, gauge how you eat, and then record it. Now, throughout the year, we may ask you to eat a little bit cleaner. For instance, like during the first 2 weeks of our numbers to our diet tracking, usually I'll ask, all right, guys, maybe, don't do it all the time, don't go overboard, but every once in a while, maybe eat something a little bit less usual than you normally would before a class. Maybe eat a heavier, big thing on mac and cheese, and so now you're all carb loaded and you're like feeling like you're all, going to a food coma, let's take a nap, and then you come to class and you'll see how different food affects you, right? And so the idea is like, maybe eat a little bit worse than you usually would for the first 2 weeks. Track how that made you feel. Eat normal. Track how that made you feel. Eat extra clean. Track how that made you feel. And so the idea is to get you some experiential training so you can make better judgment as you go through your life, whether it's from youth all the way through adulthood, because even as adults, we still sometimes need to make better judgments. But anyways, so you have 6 weeks of diet tracking for food journals. Youth ranked black belts, we don't expect you guys to do that, okay? We have, for the first degree black belts, we are expecting you guys to do 4 success interviews. Now, success interviews aren't, just go and interview, mom or dad or anything like that. I mean, they could be. But the idea is define success to you, first of all. What is success? Success to you, could be, that you have a fruitful relationship and a beautiful family, right? That could be that could be success. Success to you could be maybe you've got some vocational goals and you want to run this amazing business, or you want to be an investor in the market. Who knows? What does success look like to you? Whether it's educationally, vocationally, whether it's relationships, whatever. What is success to you? Find people who have reached that level of success and see what makes them tick. See how they got there. Maybe what struggles they've had along the way, how they overcame those struggles, what mentors they seeked maybe. All right, so your job is to, again, find the people that you want to be, or find the people that are in the position you want to have, and find out how they got there so you can kind of copy what they did, copy and paste a little bit. You know what I mean? So first degree black belts, you guys have to do 4 of those. Second degree, third degree black belts, so you guys have done it before. We only want to see 2 of those. And then we have experience journals. Experience journals, we have 7 of those, so that's going to be 1 a month. Literally just kind of talking about your experience over the month. I really challenge you guys to please read everything through here when you get a chance, because when you go through the monthly experience journal on the that's at page 6 here of the booklet, it prompts you with some questions to ask the person a little bit. And even if you're not going to ask the person these specific questions, it does on the success interview part. I'm jumping ahead, but it gives you questions to ask yourself. And even if these aren't the same questions that you're going to ask yourself, at least maybe you'll get the wheels turning so that you can come up with some good questions. For instance, what have you done well this month? What does the team work, or how is the team working together? What is the team doing well? What does the team need to improve on? What can you do to help the team improve? So again, these journals are here to kind of help you be a little introspective as we're going throughout the year. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, first degree black belts, you guys also have to, and this is preliminary black belts too, right? You guys also have to memorize Attitude by Charles Swindoll. Attitude is going to be on page 11. All right? It's a short little, it's not really a poem, but I'm going to call it a poem, I guess. It's a short little poem that kind of embodies the attitude we want you to embrace throughout the year. Okay? And so, what I like to do is whenever I went through my tests and I had to memorize it, I broke it down into sections. From now to checkpoint 1, I'm memorizing section 1. Now to checkpoint 2, I'm memorizing section 3. From now to checkpoint 2, I'm memorizing section 2. From checkpoint 2 to checkpoint 3, I'm memorizing the last section. So, kind of giving myself a little, breaking it up to make it a little bit easier, so it's not just sitting there right in front of me. And I'll give you a little tip. One thing that really helps me memorize things is do everything at once. So I'll be reading something and writing it down while I'm listening to a recording of myself saying it while saying it at the same time. And so while I'm reading something, writing it down, saying it, and hearing it, it kind of just really locks it into my mind. And so if that helps you, or maybe overstimulating, who knows? But it gets me to memorize things. So first degrees, of course, you have to memorize that. Second and third degrees, we expect you to already memorize that. If you're youth rank, we expect you to already memorize that. The final thing for second and third degrees, we just expect you guys to mentor some underbelts. So whether that's a preliminary black belt or a first or second degree. And again, mentorship isn't really anything crazy. It's meeting them with every once in a while during class or after class, before class, maybe on the weekend if you have time. Check up on them, ask them how they're doing, see if they need help. Give them any advice. If you're a mentor, watching your mentee during training, and saying, hey, maybe you could do this, that. Again, guide them. You've done it several times. If you're a second or third degree, you've done it minimum of 2 times. Probably if you're a youth, 3 or 4 times. So again, you'll have a lot of experience that you could give back to the people who haven't done this before. When it comes to the youth rank, the only extra thing that we're adding on to your guys' requirements, so again, all you have to do if you're a youth rank, if you're a silver striped black belt, you have to attend class, attend the special trainings and events, do your numbers tracking, and at the end of the year, we expect a personal growth essay from you. And the personal growth essay, again, it's written down here what we expect you guys to say, but it just kind of covers, in a nutshell, what your mindset, how your training went last year, and then how you grew from that and how you've changed this year. Make sense? And again, it's all written down there, all the prompts, all the questions that I ask you guys that I want you to kind of speak on, so that way you can give us something thoughtful. Make sense?
Sure.
Now, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and read through each section, but the requirements that we went over, as you turn through your book, there are little spots throughout it that will explain each of those requirements. So again, explain the food journal, personal growth essay, monthly experience journals, the tri-weekly workout regimen, stretching and mobility. This is just an extra thing to hopefully give you guys some stretches to work on at home. Your affirmation, success interviews, mentorship, all that stuff is written down here so that you've got something to follow along. Okay? But again, please don't think you're in this alone. As a tester, you can ask your built-in mentors, your parents that you have at home for advice. You have mentors, you have black belts who've done this a million times before. You have instructors who've been leading these tests for decades. Right? So we're able to give you guys lots of good feedback. So please ask questions so that you're never lost. Okay?
Sure.
Teacher Doug, before I moved on to kind of go over the frequently asked questions and moving on to any Q&A, do you have anything you'd like to mention before I?
More to the underbelts, if you haven't been through this process a lot, just hearing Teacher John talk, you're like, wow, it is a lot, you know, like there's a lot of expectations from me. We've actually simplified it quite a bit over the years. It seems like a lot, but if you have your teammates and your parents helping you out, like you look at the calendar, that's 60% of it right there, right? The other part seems a lot, and so if you know how to organize and be prepared, and that's kind of what we're looking at those checkpoints, that's one of the things of, are you staying on top of it, are you getting behind? It's very easily, you know, able to be accomplished. And we've also taken, in fact, with the calendar stuff and with the requirements, Teacher John and I sit down every single year and kind of look at, you know, what's the expectation of just not adults these days, but what are the youth and what you guys go through in school. So we factor that in to try not to make sure it is overwhelming. We want you to take this extremely seriously because this is serious, right? We went, you know, once you get to that elite group, right? This testing phase is a very, very serious and something that we hold with a very, very high standard. So if you are struggling, what I ask is just please communicate. I know every one of your instructor team will sit there and take the time. Teacher John, anybody will take that time if there's anything that you're struggling with. But also just, you know, going back to the calendar stuff, right? Kind of make that your next 8 months of like, what are my expectations? And as you look at it, we've got some really cool different things that we're doing this year. We're going to get to spend some time in Aim High Inc. in February. It'll be different. Of course, we always do the Kickathon, the team building event on the 3/24. That's a Winterhawks game. So we're going to go and have fun and let loose at a hockey game, right? Maybe see a couple fights there. You know, so you know, we look at this stuff too as what we enjoy having fun. You know, so we know that, you know, certain things like this, it's not always about the kicking and punching. It's that life experience. It's being together and bonding as a team. Teacher John and I have a different hike in mind this year, so that'll be different. And it's really important for us that you guys know how this company was founded, how this company has grown. So not just part of Aim High Inc. We're going to spend some time and talk to the directors in Aim High Impact. So what they do over there and how that affects, you know, the company and the overall mission of the organization. Camp Yamhill, we can never get rid of Camp Yamhill. Like, tell me who does not love Camp Yamhill, right? Does anybody not love it? Maybe not the middle of the night stuff, which we won't talk about, right? But
Oh, you sleep in the
oh, that's what I do.
Oh, yeah.
But really, I mean, we're very blessed to have that other nonprofit, you know, 300 acres of just, you know, they give us that weekend, you know, to have a great time. Any other big things? Oh, yeah, we're really looking forward to this. Bigfoot Adventure. Who's excited to know what that is? Well, we rented a boat just for our team here. We're going out on a boat down the Willamette, right? Is that
Down to Columbia.
Or Columbia, not
The
the
gorge.
Willamette, the gorge. So we're gonna have a good time doing that. But like I said, follow this. This will help you get through. We plan on taking things extremely serious. So if you don't show up to one of these trainings or one of these Friday night trainings, I'm gonna be like, okay, there's your first warning, right? We get another. It might be a 2-strike warning, not a 3-strike warning, okay? But I plan on having a lot of fun this year. I think it was Hassini says, well, you and the instructors' funds are not always the same fun as ours. I will tell you, everything that we have the team do, we go out and try. So
Absolutely.
No, I'm just really, really excited to get this season kicked off, sir.
Yes, sir. I wanted to piggyback off of what you said about school earlier. We do take school very seriously, and that is your priority if you are in school. So that being said, there are a lot of requirements on here, and of course there are due dates and expectations, but we want to make sure that school is your priority. And so while we do expect you to finish your requirements, we expect communication if there is an issue with school that it is getting in the way. And so reaching out to us and saying, hey, Teacher John, or, well, and make sure you, of course, also include all your instructors, Teacher John, Teacher Logan, I wasn't able to, I'm not going to be able to get my experience journal turned in on time. I have this big project at school and it's really backing me up. Can I have an extension? It's like, of course, but you can't get one unless you tell us. You know what I mean? So you've got to communicate and let us know.
Please do it earlier rather than later. Like, don't tell us the day before your experience journal is due that, oh no, school got in the way, because that tells us that your planning also got pushed back. So usually, I don't know about you guys, but I remember back in high school and college, like I knew a good 2 to 3 weeks, some teams even a month, when I was like, this month is gonna stink, right? Because you've got 3 reports in a row and 2 tests each week or whatever it is. So let us know ahead of time, and that helps us help you make plans so that you don't have to stress about it as you go forwards.
Exactly. And you saw Teacher Doug talking about a lot of these events, guys. The theme of the test is fusion. When you think about fusion, it's bringing things together, fusing different, whether it's different arts like the martial arts we do over on the, here with Tungsudo Taekwondo and mixed martial arts, or fusing 2 atoms together, or 2 molecules to create something new. Or, again, you could also use it as a metaphor for describing us coming together from individuals to a team, and not just a team of martial artists, but a team of friends. People with the same mindset and the same goals. And a lot of these events that we're doing are geared around team building this year and creating friendships, creating a support system where we can rely on each other. I want you guys to be able to create friends throughout the year, even if they're not necessarily best friends you call every day, but friends that you can count on, that you can, if you need something, if you're in a real rough time and you need a shoulder to cry on or somebody to talk to, these people would be there for you. We need a support system, in this world. And the way that technology and social media and the internet has kind of pushed us, it's kind of pushed us further away. Even though we have all this amazing things that connect, it's less personal. And so getting opportunities like this where we can come together and we can be personal and we can create those connections is so powerful. And so we really want you guys to take the theme of the test seriously this year as well. Okay?
Sir.
So guys, we're going to go through the frequently asked questions here. Teacher Maria just called me out on a little spelling error at the bottom there, which is pretty funny. I made it through all of them except for this, there's probably more. You can probably find some more spelling errors. Kudos if you find more spelling errors. Guys, if you've ever, it's tough, and I make these like in like Photoshop and different things like that. It's a lot easier when you have Word. You can do a spell check. I have to copy and paste it into somewhere I can spell check because you can't really do that in Photoshop. But anyways, yeah. So it's a lot harder when you're staring at things all day and then you're like, yeah, I think it's great. So let's go over the frequently asked questions. I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions, and then I do also want to see if Teacher Sam, Teacher Maria, and Teacher Logan have anything to say before we get to that point, though. So frequently asked questions. This will be on page 14. Do I have to attend all the special trainings and events, or special trainings, checkpoints, and events? Yes. Attendance is required for all special trainings, checkpoints, events, unless otherwise approved by an instructor. Is it possible to fail this test? Yes. No one is guaranteed to pass. Maintaining a positive attitude and a strong work ethic will go a long way in helping you succeed. Now, what will make us fail this test? Well, not communicating and not turning in your non-physical, or your physical and your written requirements. So not turning those in and not communicating. Make sense? Missing classes and not communicating. Even if you've missed under the amount of classes, if you're missing events in classes and you're not communicating, that could be something that you could fail from the test from. Of course, even if you did communicate, missing more than the required amount of classes could end up in a failure of the test. And then also attitude, behavior. If your attitude is not becoming of a black belt, if your behavior is not becoming of a black belt, if your language that you speak is not becoming of a black belt, you could be failed from the test. Make sense?
And technique, I think it's worth saying.
And then curriculum and technique, absolutely. If you're not punching and kicking like a black belt, Good chance that we may say, hey, next year is probably going to be your year. Does that make sense?
Sure.
But again, if we're inviting you to the test, we don't expect that to happen, but it's happened before. Anything can happen. Our job is to kind of help guide you along the way, hopefully throughout the year, and this has happened especially to the more mature individuals. Some individuals, we have to kind of nudge them in that direction. Hopefully, if you see that you're not going to be if you're not meeting the requirements, you'll come to us and bow out. And again, that's usually what we expect, but there are times whenever we do have to be the one because they're not really, they're not being, maybe they don't see it as much, or they're just not willing to take that responsibility or take that step, and so we have to kind of step in. What is the purpose of training at inconvenient times? So sometimes we wake up early, sometimes we'll train a little bit later. All right, well, being a black belt is a lifestyle, and sometimes that means training in the rain or before the sun is up. If you approach these trainings with a positive mindset, you'll find that these trainings will be some of your most cherished memories from this test. But on top of that, guys, being a successful adult or being a successful person, you've got to learn to be okay with the uncomfortable feeling of being a little extra tired in the morning, maybe working out in the rain a little. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. In whatever situation that is that you're putting yourself into, whether it's I need to learn how, let's say if I was a teen trying to go, go see if this girl wanted to go to prom with me or something, I need to be comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling of her saying, no, man, I might get rejected, but getting comfortable with that feeling of uncomfortableness. Getting comfortable with the feeling of being up in front of a bunch of people performing and speaking. Being comfortable, pushing yourself past your physical limitations that you thought were there before. For instance, you thought, as soon as my arms are tired, I can't do any more push-ups. That's not necessarily true. You can keep going until actual failure. There's a big difference. And so, be comfortable pushing yourself through some of those uncomfortable moments. And that's the main reason why we train at those uncomfortable times is to train that aspect of it. Make sense? Plus, it's a good test on your attitude and patience, too. I tell you, a lot of people are a lot more grumpy in the morning, especially when people aren't sounding off and they have to do extra push-ups because of it. Why is the testing fee so expensive? Now, while it may seem expensive at first glance, guys, over the course of 7 months, this is really not a lot, and it covers quite a bit. The $500 testing fee goes a long way in maximizing the quality of your test. You pay fees for several different items and events, including your gear package, your embroidered black belt, your black belt certificate, off-site special trainings, black belt graduation ceremony, and your final testing event. Black belt testing, guys, is not something that we ever try to make money on. In fact, I think we're probably going to have losing money. So this is all for the experience. We're just trying to cover some of the costs from the fees, and that's really what it comes down to. Does that make sense?
Sure.
What gear should I bring to class, and what gear do I need for special training? So remember the 5 Ps. Proper blending prevents poor performance. It is always prudent to bring all your martial arts equipment with you to each class and special trainings unless instructed otherwise. So when it comes to class, bring all your gear. Bring your sparring gear, sticks, gloves, mouthpiece, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you're prepared. If you don't know all the gear you should bring, just double check with the instructors. Be like, Teacher Sam, what does all gear mean to you? Because all gear to Teacher Sam is different than what Taekwondo or Tang Soo would be, right? And so make sure you guys are communicating with the instructors so you know what you need. When it comes to special trainings, I will tell you what you need. So you will get emails weeks in advance. It will also be posted up on the Fusion page of the website. So we have a Fusion page of the website launching tomorrow. On there will be some information. I'm recording this. On there will be this as well as some other information. But on the Fusion page of the website, that information will be posted. So you'll know you'll know where to go, what time to be there, what you'll need. For the most part, what to expect. Should be pretty easy. We do that. We post that information on. We always start a Facebook page. I know not everybody does Facebook, and so that's why some people like it. So that's why we do it. But we do a testing themed Facebook page. If you want to be a part of that, we can invite you. We do email, and we also do the website. And so we have 3. Well, then also in class that we just say word of mouth. So I guess we have 4 main ways that we're going to communicate all that information to you guys. Okay.
Sure.
Where do I find more detailed information in times, locations of each special training? Well, just like we talked about, here's another one of those mess ups. I put the last year's theme instead of this year's theme. Isn't that hilarious? After we finalize the details of each event, information will be posted to the Fusion Facebook page, the Fusion page on our website, and as well will be sent out by email. Please see your instructor if you or your parents would like to be added to the email list in the Facebook page. So you don't need to tell me right now, or your instructors right now, because during our pre-commitment meetings, we will be discussing all of that, okay? So we're gonna go over all that kind of stuff. We'll get that information for you guys, and then that way I can spend the next 3 weeks adding everybody onto the email list, plugging everybody onto the Facebook page, things like that. If you want to be added to the Facebook page, knowing the exact email you use for your Facebook makes it way easier for us to do that. So just keep that in mind. All right?
Sir.
All right, Teacher Sam, Teacher Maria, Teacher Logan, do you guys have anything you want to mention before we pass it off to ask questions? Okay.
Communication is key, like both for making sure that we're all on the same page so we can help you with any challenges that you have, but also just like in order to have a lot of fun and forge a lot of bonds. When we come to class, of course, we want you to be super serious and dialed in, but also like if you come 15 minutes before class, like which is a good habit to have, take that time. Make sure that you're, even if you're not a mentor, just like strike up a conversation about, you know, maybe it's stuff that's in the studio. What did you learn last week? Like what's hard? What do you like the best? Or maybe it's stuff outside of class. Like, hey, what's your favorite subject? Maybe you find out that they're a good study buddy, or maybe you find out you both love underwater basket weaving. I don't know. And then you've got these connections both inside class and outside class. So one of the things that like came up at the last camp out was just how much it can mean to open up to your team and how much it can mean to have somebody on your team open up to you, but just how much more of a richer experience that can make it. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's kind of the same stuff. You're gonna hear, I mean, you've been through it before, you're gonna hear the same thing a million different ways, but I just did it, had to do it today in my beginner class. Having trouble communicating, having trouble leading a warm-up, having trouble with the social pressure that you feel in the school or at home or just out in the world, whatever it is always going to be there. We talked about being able to keep moving even though we're uncomfortable. It's the same thing. I challenge you, anytime something comes up, you're like, there's no way anyone has ever had to do this before. Just ask, and I'm going to raise my hand, Teacher Doug's going to raise it, somebody's going to tell you, oh yeah. No, we had to do this, except it was over a pit that was on fire with like snakes at the bottom or something. I don't know, right? It's going to be, there's going to be, never mind. That didn't, forget that last part. We're definitely not doing that this year. Just keep pushing yourself, be willing to push yourself, right, in the safe place that we're in. Because I'm not going to make you do something I haven't done before. There's a lot of things I've had to do that I'm not going to make you do, let you do, whatever you want to say, because not safe, right? But, again, you feel that way, again, it's back to the communication. Hey, I'm uncomfortable doing this, okay? Straight out. You're never going to get pushback from any of us coming and bringing up those sorts of, whatever we want to call them, you know, speed bumps, hurdles, challenges that you're going to have this year, okay?
Maybe a helpful
Helpful pushback. We might push you, but if I push you off the cliff, I'm coming with you off the other side, all right?
Just to piggyback off that real fast, remember that when you come up on those challenges, when you hit a point where you feel like, oh man, I screwed that up, that's just part of learning, right? Don't be afraid of your mistakes. Don't be afraid of the things that are hard. Just like Teacher Sam said, the more you can tell your teachers what's hard, what you're struggling with, the better we're going to be able to help you out with it.
Perfect. Well, guys, we're going to spend the next couple minutes, for the next 10 minutes or so, just doing some Q&A. Remember, let's not expect like to go in there and just kind of blast me with all sorts of questions. Remember, most of our questions should be answered during that pre-commitment meeting, right? This will be just to kind of cover anything that maybe you really like wanted to know right now. Like if you're like, oh, I'm going on vacation next summer, like let's talk about that in a pre-commitment meeting instead of right now. So I'm going to open this up not just to, of course, people on the mat, but parents as well. do you guys have any questions or any concerns or anything that you would like to kind of get answered now, or at least at the moment? Let me put the Jeopardy music.
Riley has a question.
I don't have a question.
Riley, I know we've got some we have probably some stuff to talk about during the meeting though, right? With volleyball and stuff. All right. Anybody? No?
Any concerns?
Yeah, no questions or concerns. Joe, were you gonna raise your hand? Oh, okay.
Thought about it.
Thought about it?
I do have a
Ah, Riley does okay.
I have to
Psychic
know,
or something.
the Winter Hawks thing, is that like real fun? Or is that like we're going to go out on the ice and like have to do something?
Yes, probably.
So that's all I can
Black belt test.
She's been through a black belt test before. She knows.
What's the worst that happens? You have to check a pro hockey
So-
player?
Are we really going to watch hockey?
I do have a set of hockey tickets for the Winter Hawks. I'm not saying we won't train on the way to get there, but I'm saying when we get there, we will enjoy the game.
If you're stuck pushing a Zamboni at half hour.
We're going to be the ones who clean the ice.
That would actually be pretty cool.
That's a good idea.
Maybe we should contact them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Good idea.
Yeah, thank you, Riley. Thank you. Yeah.
Good work.
See, this is why we want you guys coming back year after year, so you give us some of your, your cruel ideas. Well, guys, we can wrap things up early if we need to. But again, just kind of reiterate a couple things. Go home. It doesn't have to be tonight that you go through this. Maybe tomorrow night. Read through the book. Make sure your parents also look through it as well, because they should know the expectations. If your parents are having to, they shouldn't be like, hey, you've got this thing this Saturday, I got to make sure you're getting to me. You should also be responsible with your parents to let them know that. But, they shouldn't be in the dark about this stuff. They should make sure they know 100% because they're going to be your communication or your ride along the time. So make sure you go over everything with not just yourself, with your parents, read through everything. Make sure you have your parents and yourself read through the contract, because that's going to be that's the main thing for them. The book is more for you guys. The contract is going to be more for them. But of course, make sure you read that through as well, so you know. After you read through it, come up with your questions, whether it's conflicts with the schedule, whether it's questions with requirements, or any sort of the trainings that we're doing, transportation, whatever it is. Come up with your questions, and then tomorrow you don't have to schedule your appointment tomorrow. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to send out the email to everybody here saying, hey, here are the times we have available. This is what we expect you to bring to the appointment. It's going to be over Zoom, not in person. But again, we're going to ask you just to kind of come prepared with a couple things. And what are your concerns, right? Do you have any modifications, any injuries that you may have? Do you see? Why should you be eligible? Why do you think you deserve to test for black belt? We also use this as an opportunity to give people a chance to advocate for themselves, like you would, for instance, like in a job interview. As you're, for instance, when you go into a job, you're marketing yourself. You have to say, this is why you should hire me, to work for you, because I'm going to benefit you in this way, or your business, or that. How are you going to be a benefit to the black belt testing team? Makes sense. How are you going to be a benefit to the organization? So I'm going to ask you to come prepared with a couple of those things. The meetings are really only going to be 15 to 30 minutes. Usually they ride around 15 to 20 minutes, so they're short and sweet. After that, during that meeting, if everything goes according to plan, we'll be presenting you a certificate as an invitation to the Fusion 23 Black Belt test. And then from there, we'd say, hey, here's your invitation. You have until the 21st to commit. Make sense?
Sir.
All right. Anything else before maybe I'm forgetting Teacher Doug before we get going?
I just found this picture right here, sitting here randomly with Teacher Randall. Yeah,
Okay.
Look at that baby face. And I wasn't even black belt.
He's probably like 27, 28 right there.
Good looking guy. Still is, of course.
All right, so guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Read through it. Look for the email tomorrow. Looks like we've got some questions. Read through the email tomorrow. Make sure you set your appointment. As soon as we set the appointment, I will, not as soon as, But the day of your appointment, I'm going to send everybody who has an appointment that day the Zoom link so they can sign in. Okay?
Sure.
All right. Abhishek.
I was just wondering what the AIM event was.
Hey, Mike. So our organization started as a martial arts school back in like 2005, but we have, we had big dreams and a big vision, and we started working with kids with developmental disabilities and just teaching them basic martial arts. But then that passion grew into opening up an entire clinic for kids with autism. And we have a preschool clinic, and then we have a school-age clinic from like 8 to 18, pretty much. Is that right? Now, on top of this, we also started a graphic design and screen printing, also embroidery, laser cutting, all sorts of crazy stuff. And like a different shop that years ago we were employing at-risk youth. And so people kind of in transitional homes and stuff to be able to give them a job experience and kind of work them to get back on their feet and stuff like that. And so that's how our ink department started. And so the ink department literally is a place that makes bags, t-shirts, hats, coffee mugs, all sorts of stuff for companies all over the Pacific Northwest and in potentially the U.S. We actually even have been doing some stuff with Amazon recently, which has been pretty fun and pretty neat. But that's what Ink is. And so you're going to be doing some stuff with them, learning a little bit more about that part of the organization, also getting some experiential training and stuff. Work on actually making some stuff, some t-shirts and things like that. It's going to be pretty cool. And kind of just, again, get a feel a little bit of what you're part of. Make sense?
Sure.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Cool, guys. Well, let's go ahead and stand on up.
Sure.
All right. Now we're going to bow out, team. Now, when you are in black belt testing, every time we bow out, and if you've done this before, you know the rules. You know how it works. We're going to bow out. We're going to say the theme of the test. And so I'm going to ask you, let's say the way we'll work like this. Everybody face touch it, and bow, right? And then I'm going to say, purpose of martial arts is to? Good. And I'll say, what's the theme of the test? And you'll say, fusion sword! And I'll say, what's the theme of the test? And you'll say, fusion sword! And I'll say one more time, what's the theme of the test? And then we'll kind of do our thing, all right? Then we'll do our jump singing high. Actually, we'll do the jump singing hymn after that, okay? Are you guys ready? Sure. All right, so let's try it. Everybody face the center. To the set, and bow. The purpose of martial arts is to?